Welcome back, Zinger Nation. We're here with another episode of After Hours with my man, Ryan Rozbiani. Ryan, how we doing?
I'm doing good, producer AB. How are you?
I'm good. I see we're starting the day as we always do, taking a brief overview look of SPY.
Yes, sir. So thank you to everyone who's watching. Shout out to Zinger Nation. I know it's been a weird day, but as always, we'll start off with the show and starting off with the major indices, SPY, QQQ. Then we're going to have to go after our good friends at Bitcoin, Ethereum, and of course, good old Doge. So we'll talk about those. Then we'll talk about some stocks that I've been watching today and this week. And then the final part, we'll go into Q&A. But along the journey, I'd like you folks to help me by smashing the like button and subscribing to help support this amazing show. And shout out to producer AB for everything across the way. So let's start off with good old SPY. So if you're watching this show, if you've been watching this show, you're no stranger to what we do here. We've been watching SPY very, very closely. And if you've been watching this show, you've been preparing. And I've been trying to teach you folks along the ways. We've got this ugly gap right here that I don't even know how long ago that I drew, but we've been drawing it here for a while now. It's been sitting here. It's been bothering me, and we got very close to it today. So the gap, for those of you who are new to the show, is between 400 and 403. Today we came down to a low of 40533. So we're very close, but I imagine we will probably break it sometime this week or next week. My bets are on this week because things are starting to get ugly. If we turn on the Bollinger Bands, we almost broke the bottom Bollinger Band today too, which is where things start to get wild. And if you look at it, the Bollinger Bands coincide exactly at this inflection point with our 50 daily moving average. So that being said, about what we're doing, we got this gap here. So I'm watching it. Everything going on with SPY is telling me that we're going to eventually go for this gap. It's creeping down. Our RSI is creeping down. Our MACD is still in a strong downward trend, which is unfortunate. But the indices are having fun. As you can see here on the Benzinga Pro 2, it says the U.S. indices are trading lower amid continued weakness in the tech markets as investors weigh in the Fed's April minutes. So those of you who are probably have no clue what that means is the Fed released their meeting minutes. So meeting minutes are if you go to a meeting, there's a scribe that kind of takes notes, and these are quote-unquote meeting minutes. And it came out that the Fed is realizing and acknowledging that there is inflation for the first time and that they would consider raising interest rates to be able to kind of combat this inflation from happening so we don't end up like the 1960s. So I think what will happen is once we get news of that, if we get news of that, I don't think it'll be until towards like the end of the year, to be honest with you, for that to trigger and happen, because right now the reason inflation feels really high and is causing this weird sell-off is probably because we have the year-over-year data coming in for CPI. So I did a full YouTube video on CPI data. If you want to learn about that, you can just search CPI data Ryan Rozbiani. It'll come up. I think it's called CPI. Will CPI data crash the markets? So and as we're seeing, it did. The year-over-year data has been steadily kind of been building its way down. Up, because the inflation data is going up, which means that there's more inflation, and people are acknowledging that. We're seeing that in lumber prices, in copper prices. And what that does is it increases fears about hike rate, because the Fed, what they do to combat inflation is increase interest rates to be able to prevent it from a gallon of milk going to $8 a gallon. What's up, producer AB?
I took myself off because I had to send a text real quick, but now I'm back on.
Sure. Okay, cool. I thought you wanted to jump in, but yeah. So what I'm thinking is over the next few days, I think we're coming to the kind of inflection point of FUD, which is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Once we hit this inflection point, we will start to bounce back up. Where that inflection point is, I want to see how SPY and the market reacts to this gap. I think we'll come down and we'll fill it. And the thing that the main level that I'm watching is here at 382. As well as, at 380, essentially 383. And then I want to see if we can hold the support level here at 393. So yeah, it looks a little scary because we're starting to look like what we looked like back in March 5th. Things are looking very parallel. A lot of stocks have given up the gains that we got in this kind of run up here. If you look at certain charts like Tesla and them, which we will look at it in a second, you can see that a lot of them have given up their gains and are sort of kind of have this rounding top that might come down to this bottom. So I hope we don't come down to test these 370 levels. I hope that this gap is the final dimension, or maybe this 393 or 383. But again, we'll have to watch and see how that all plays out. So I'm watching this very closely in terms of SPY. So I'm protecting myself using bear stocks as a hedge to kind of be like, all right, we're going down, but I'm still gonna find a way to make money, and that's how you do it. You use bear stocks to do that, and I've been preparing my Patreon team with that for a long time, and I've been talking about it publicly for a long time too. So QQQ, our good old NASDAQ index, as you can see, this is kind of the line that it sometimes likes to respect and play along with. The NASDAQ had two gaps up here that filled last week, and now we can see it's sort of coming down and kind of wants to bounce, and we will see if it can bounce off of this trend line. Between us, the MACD says we could probably do it, but honestly, I think with the tech markets and what they're doing is we're probably going to break this trend line and come and test these 307 areas before we get pretty again. If we had side by side of SPY and QQQ, you'd see that's around the same levels of the 390 SPY, and QQQ tend to sometimes move together. Let me switch to hollow candles for a second, and you will be able to see how they sometimes tend to move together. And you might be saying, well, QQQ had a positive day today. Well, yeah, 0.11%, which is really nothing, and then it gave it up. Yeah, it's another flat day. The candle's just really it looks really weird. It should be like one of these really flat candles, but I don't know what it's doing. TradeView has a tendency to sometimes screw us up, but it is what it is, right? So I think we're going to disrespect this trend line and break right through it, and then we will do it. So one thing to always keep in mind is, I know a lot of traders are really scared, and there's a lot of new traders in the market that either entered in last March or entered in during the election times or entered in parallel to when stimulus checks were coming or during GameStop in January. And this is probably their first like bear market that we're seeing, that they're seeing. And they're probably like, well, this is terrifying. Why would I want to ever be a part of the stock market? This sucks. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be a part of this thing. All I'm doing is losing money. That's not true. Right now, we're in a period of time where there's a lot of variables within the market that are going haywire. Usually it wasn't like this last year because we hit all-time bottoms and we ran back up. This time what we've had is we can sort of see 1, 2, 3, 4 bottoms across this chart from last year in September. We resolved after the elections. We ran up. We had a nice little bull run for a few months. Then we came crashing down in March. A lot of people say this was the suits kind of taking revenge for what happened within the GameStop fiasco. But again, I don't think that's true. It could have been true to a certain extent, but I think the suits are also equivalently scared of everything that's going on within the markets. So that's probably something to kind of take out of your heads. But I do get it. The suits did want to get revenge on what happened with the whole GameStop fiasco. So keep that in mind for sure. But we came down, touched the bottom, and we're going to it'd be nice to see if we bounce right off of here again tomorrow. And maybe we just go for another bull run and we can find a way back up. And maybe today was the bottom. But I don't think so. I don't think in terms of QQQ, this is the bottom. I think we'll come down and test these lower levels and then make our way back up. The markets on average will go up. That's why people say the stocks will always go up. It's not true for every single stock, but on your average, your indices will tend to go up. Sometimes you'll have sharper slopes here as they go up, and sometimes you'll have more flatter slopes here, where certain years are flatter or even negative sometimes. So keep that in mind for the NASDAQ indices. Again, if you're ever worried, you can sign up for Benzinga Pro. They always tell you what's going on the top bar right there, saying, hey, this is why the stock is down, or this is why the stock is up. Now, you're probably here so we can talk about some crypto. We got to go to our buddy Bitcoin, which decided to play games with us today. Now, if you folks know and watch the show, I'm a big crypto bull. I'm a big Bitcoin, Ethereum junkie. I love that stuff, and recently even came around to Doge for a little bit, to play with a little bit of Doge. So I spun up a quick little chart here before the show with certain support levels that I'm watching using the Fibonacci's. And what's funny is I was doing this last night, and I even made a full video on my YouTube channel. It's like, hey, this is my plan for if and when crypto crashes. And as I was waiting to make it go live this morning, and I did, it's live now on my YouTube channel, everything came crashing down. It's like all hell broke loose. And you can see this one candle. So if we actually do like a measurement on this one candle, it's recovered significantly, but this one candle, if I can draw it properly with this measuring tool.
What time frame are we on right? Oh, we're on the daily?
We're on the daily, yeah. It's such an ugly candle, right? A 31% drop candle.
Can we go to a shorter time frame real quick? I'm curious what Bitcoin is doing right now.
Sure. What do you want? 15, 5?
Go to 15 minutes is good.
Sure. So Bitcoin right now, it's from this morning where we essentially hit the bottom for now was around noon. Around noon, we hit the sort of the bottom area. where we were down to 3,000, and then it slowly is fighting to make its way back up and build support here. We have influx of volume, but you also have outflow of volume as well, which is what's kind of paralleling people sort of escaping. It's not going to be an overnight repair. This is the first time that I've seen, for example, like if you go to like the 4-hour chart, this is the first time I've seen Bitcoin oversold on the 4-hour chart in a long time, where it came down to these levels. On the 4-hour chart, it was very, very low. And on the daily chart, it was the first time I've seen oversold levels in a long time. If we just kind of scroll back, we can see the last time we saw oversold levels was good old March 2020. So this was a big, big drop. And just to give us a little bit of historical context, I want to see how big of a drop that candle was. This was a significantly dropped candle of 38%. On this candle was 38% drop. So this is a 31%. So it's not that bad. But if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, about how things are moving and kind of observing the movement of this candle, we dropped a lot, but we also recovered a lot as well in one fell swoop, where you had quote unquote whales coming in and buying and saying, hey, all right, we're going to quote unquote buy the dip. So that's that. But personally, I don't think we're out of the woods just yet. I think that right now with Bitcoin, this could be a bear trap with Bitcoin, and it could be a little bit of a false hope indicator of recovering that quickly in one shot, because I know that Bitcoin has had much more institutional investment come in, but we still have a lot of risk factors which haven't mitigated yet, which includes regulation from the government and stuff like that. But for example, with this candle, it was a big drop. And if we just measure it, I want to make sure that I'm doing it correctly. If we look here, we measure this candle. This was a 41% candle that closes a 38% candle. And this is a 31% candle that's now an 11% candle, and sort of will probably close around like 11, 10. Now it's 12%. So it'll have its fun with us for today. So I think what will happen is we're gonna dance around these levels for a while between these two gaps right here, 28 and 36. And sometimes we'll go higher. Sometimes we could even break the support of 28 and go lower. Richard's right. We could drop down to 3,000 again. That's very, very true. I don't think we're out of the woods yet with Bitcoin. There's a lot that's going on geopolitically with Bitcoin now, that with China banning it, with banning transactions of crypto and things like that. So I think that we could see a big drop here within crypto again. So that's why I have a few limit orders set for Ethereum and for Bitcoin, waiting to again dollar cost averaging at the lower points if and when I can get them. So I think that the master support level, which if you've watched older streams, the master support level was around 44K, which was right here. If I'm remembering correctly, it was somewhere around here. My eyes are playing games with me, but around 44K. Then we came down to 41K, which was funny because that was a previous resistance level, and we ripped right through that today. We almost came to 28. Had we broken 28, it would have gotten ugly, and the next support level would have been around 21. So it could have gotten much, much uglier than we think, and then it would have gone to 16, and then 10, and then it would have gotten a lot uglier. So for those of you who are in Bitcoin, you're also probably, some of you that watch the stream are probably invested into stock like Mara, Riot, SOS, Argo Invest, Hut8, Bitfarms. These are these Bitcoin mining stocks, which are relatively much stronger from this Bitcoin movement. So a lot of people say, why don't you just buy the coin instead of the miner? The miners are a little bit stronger, and we'll review that in the next section. But I want to go to Ethereum first, but I will come back and touch on that. Let's go to Ethereum real quick. Ethereum. Ethereum, by the way, is doing much better in my opinion versus what Bitcoin is doing. It is a big drop as well. So you might be saying, "Are you crazy? How is Ethereum doing better?" But if you look at Ethereum, has had this velocity run here. If we could just measure this real quick, this is again, I used year-to-date metrics. If we sort of use year-to-date metrics of where it went, it's had a 513% run in the past 5 months, and now it's kind of said, hey, I'm going to surrender some of it, but not all of it. So I did wipe out my my Fibonacci level. So I don't think that. Does
the MACD tell you the same thing, that Ethereum's being oversold right now?
No, Ethereum hasn't entered oversold territories yet. Ethereum's RSI is actually at 36 on the daily, so we're not oversold yet. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But Ethereum jumped back much faster because the big catalyst for Ethereum is this 2.0 that's coming, Ethereum 2.0, which is much better on gas fees. Staking is at 6% on Coinbase. So a lot of folks are couldn't even sell if they wanted to because they'd put like their Ethereum into staking, and once you put it into staking, it's locked in. So they couldn't have sold. So support levels are a little bit stronger for Ethereum versus Bitcoin from what I'm reading and understanding. I could be totally wrong, but this was a interesting drop here. We did drop again, but we didn't get anywhere close to the quote unquote master support level of 724. We actually only came down to a low, according to the Coinbase chart here that we have, of 1900. So that's not too bad, honestly, in the grand scheme of things, considering we were at 1900, what, just a few days ago, last month, April 7th. We were at 1900, and that was an all-time high, believe it or not. We hit an all-time high of 1900. Yeah, all-time high of 1900 April 2nd, and then sustained that even on a red day here. We still held 1900. So it's not that bad. I think this was a very premature bull run right here. So it's okay that this happened. If you look here, usually you dance around Fibonacci levels and you go up very slowly, but this legged up quite quickly, and that's not healthy in my opinion for any asset. If you go up too fast, you're going to come crashing down, and we saw that here. But mainly this result of this quick crash, quote-unquote flash crash, is because of what's happening with Bitcoin. Is sometimes they move together. You might be saying, well, why didn't Bitcoin have its massive bull run like Ethereum did these past few months? Because Bitcoin was launching its massive bull run for the past few months before this. Ethereum was lagging severely, and Ethereum decided, hey, we're going to catch up. And now they're sort of in the kind of harmonic area now. They're sort of, quote unquote, syncing up a little bit. But in my opinion, Ethereum is still stronger in terms of an asset and a chart. So with what's going on with Ethereum, I like what's going on, but again, I don't think that we're out of the woods yet with Ethereum. So if we go to something like the 30-minute chart and take a look there.
So yeah, I'd be curious to hear like what your price levels are, or where you think Ethereum like could fall to if we do continue to see some downward momentum in Ethereum and Bitcoin.
Definitely. So I do think that what we're inducing here is a bull trap. So I think that for Ethereum, we could come down and test the 2000 levels again. So I set a limit order for 2,000 on Ethereum to buy some Ethereum at 2,000. That's the level that I'm watching, because right now it looks like sort of like a rounding top here. Again, we're not going to be too technically correct here on this, but it looks like sort of a rounding top here. So I think that we have people coming in and buying, but we also have selling pressure as well. If you look, for every 2 golden candle volume sticks, we've got 1 red, then we got 3 green, 1 red, then we got 3 really big reds, and then 2 really big reds here. So your outflow is still happening. It looks like maybe people are pulling out their cryptos out of staking, maybe paying a fee to get them out of there and just selling to protect their capitals and assets. So we're going to see how this all plays out. But 2,000 is the level that I think Ethereum might come down to. At least that's what I'm watching. That's what I'm seeing, because these fork downs happened, right? We came down to a low of 2,000 here, a low of 1,900 here. But essentially, if you hold this base area, is you got one level to watch first. I'd say before 2,000 would be 2,300, and then 2,000, and then 1,900, 1,800. You're still dealing with a lot of selling pressure. There's a lot of selling pressure that's still occurring here, which worries me, especially for an asset like this that's so fragile. There's really no institutional backing, as far as I know, of Ethereum besides the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. There's not even like a Michael Saylor out there that's famous for buying loads and loads of Ethereum. So it's hard. It's harder for Ethereum. But I think this is one where the whole DeFi movement and the DeFi space and the crypto and decentralized finance space are truly shining with this one, because they're, quote unquote, coming and buying the dip. And yes, you do have whales within Ethereum that are discussing and buying and selling and doing whatever they need to do to, quote unquote, manipulate the markets. But what's really triggering all of this, which is unfortunate, which is what kind of reduced a little bit of my confidence in Bitcoin, which I'll go back to give you the levels that I'd like to buy Bitcoin at, just to kind of close out this index discussion, was the fact that Elon Musk is the one that triggered a lot of this in the beginning. This drop was Elon. Whether we like it or not, this drop was Elon. And it's not a good sign, because this means that you can still have one person talking about an asset, and it's not good. Yeah, Dylan's spot on. He says Ethereum just announced that they'll be moving from proof of work to proof of stake within months, which is good. That's a much more efficient, I think they said like 99.97% more efficient in terms of energy usage, which makes it even more green. And then everyone can now shut up about the whole green stuff in regards to crypto. So for Bitcoin, the key level that I'm watching, and I know we held 3,000. I know we held 3,000 like spot on. Like if you look at like the decimal points, it's literally 3,000 and 0 cents. It's hard. It's very hard. First, I'm gonna try to get like a better view of this. So around 3,600 is where our Fibonacci level is here. 3,600, I'd say watch that one, but that's a really weak support because even before that, there was no support built into here either way. I'd say maybe look at 3,200 first, then 3,000, and then 2,800. To me, honestly, I think we'll come and probably test the 3,000, 30,000, 32,000 area again. If we break those significantly, a lot of the action for these coins happens between like 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. into the next day, as we saw. And then if it gets uglier, then we have retail markets within the U.S. start selling, and then whales start selling and shorting, and that whole fiasco plays out. And I really wish Bitcoin wasn't a shortable asset. Yeah, Cassie Mods, you're correct. 36,000, not 3,600. I'm getting my zeros mixed up.
I knew what you meant.
You're the man, producer AB. So this is what's going on here. One thing to remember across the board with anything that drops this quickly without any true thing that's really happened is nothing's really changed about Bitcoin. Nothing's really changed about Ethereum. Hell, I'd say Ethereum got much better. I think we're in a much better shape for Bitcoin. This is very good for the network. Once prices are lower, it's better for miners, which we're going to jump into the big three miners that retail likes to talk about. I'll discuss all three of them. When Bitcoin prices are lower, when Ethereum prices are lower, it's much easier to mine. It's much cheaper to mine, and you can mine a higher volume and velocity of these coins. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Benzinga Pro, and I'm going to flesh out our three favorite miners. I'll start with SOS, but I want to prove to you first that these miners can mine more. So what I'm going to do is one cool thing Marathon's website has is, and again, it's not just because we're on Marathon or I like Mara. I'm not trying, nothing like that. I do have a position in them, but I want to show you something here. If you look here, this is a really, really cool tool that Mara has on their website where it allows you, they calculate for you saying, hey, once we have all of our miners rolled out, this is what our Bitcoin production would be at the beginning of next year, right? So previously, this number when Bitcoin was around the $50,000-$60,000 price point, it'd be like 47 coins. It'll be like 50 coins, 55 coins. But now we're at 102 coins. Daily cost of production would be between 4,500 and 5,000. Now that's cut right in half. Yeah. Do not say truth. Yeah, it's cheaper and easier to mine once it's lower because you're the block size. There's something out that's like the block size something. It makes it easier to mine. It's weird. There's a lot of variables into it, and the easiest way I can describe it to you is with this chart right here. And they're able to mine more global hash rate. Now, I don't know if hash rate within the world is starting to drop, especially in Asiatic countries where maybe miners are being turned off. Maybe something is happening there that makes it easier. That is also allowing them to increase their global hash rate because their global hash rate should be essentially around 6 to 7%. So that's essentially what is happening here. So it's weird because their global hash rate's going up, which is really odd in my opinion because that means hash rate across somewhere is being turned off, and they're being able to pull the power in. The last time I saw the hash rate jump up this much was, if you recall, when China's one of these coal mines flooded, and one of the miners were shut down. They went into a blackout. What happened was this hash rate jumped up. So that could be what's also happening here is maybe miners are being turned off in China, other Asiatic countries, maybe here in the North Americas. So we'll have to see what's going on there because this number is, I can show you what the number should be in 2023 just based off of what they say, based off of SEC filings and what they say. So we can go to their presentation. And this isn't meant to be DD. This is just quickly, they only estimate 6.4%. And it's about double that. So we'll have to see how this is playing out. So it's quite interesting how this is going. We'll have to see how that number fluctuates throughout the coming days, weeks, months, years even. So we'll have to see how all that plays out. So let's go to, I'll start with SOS because I know a lot of retail likes SOS. And let's see. So they've got earnings coming up June 1st. So let's jump in. SOS is the smallest of the three miners that I want to talk about. I'll throw in a fourth one. I'll throw in Argo as well. I'll talk about Argo as well. SOS is teetering on the 200 moving average. It's broken it, it's regained it, but then it's quickly broken it again, which is not good whatsoever. It wants to reverse, but it cannot reverse. And it's had quite a difficult day of down 4.15%. Now, in the past, once Bitcoin had days like this, you'd see miners drop 30, 40, 50, 20, 30, 40, 50%. Not that bad of a drop, 4.5%. Now, take into account SOS has a huge arm where it's they're making money from insurance and a bunch of other stuff that they do, but not a bad drop in my opinion from what's going on. Hell, they were even green yesterday when Bitcoin was red. So that's SOS for you in a nutshell. Much smaller mining facility. I think they're at 500 petahash. But they're much smaller than like your Maras, your Riots, your Argos. So I'll go into Argo.
Well, if you go back a couple months, what was SOS's high to get up to $20 or something?
Sure. Its high was I think a short squeeze or something like that. It was 1588.
Okay,
when Reddit got a hold of it, went to 1588, and they've had I think 2 or 3 offerings on the way down.
Now it's all the way back at about $3. But yeah, I mean, that could be an interesting long-term play if they're able to start, ramping up their production and mining of Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think the thing with SOS that scares me, along with smaller miners, that worries me is right now we just saw a massive drop in the price of Bitcoin. Big drop, which means revenue is also going to drop for these companies, which means what happens is, can they afford to keep mining? Can they afford to keep their doors open? That's the scary thing about these smaller miners. You're in an arms race against your other miners that have a much higher hash rate, that can pull much more. So we'll definitely have to see how that plays out. But SOS is interesting. I don't have a position, and personally, I'm sticking to more North American miners with everything that's going on right now with sociopolitically within China. Because what if the Chinese government just says, hey, no mining across all of China, we're shutting everything down, and then hash rates plummet, Bitcoin prices plummet, and then SOS has to close its mining arm because, well, if you can't mine, right? So that whole arm closes and they revert back to their other business models. That's why I'm staying away from SOS. Another small one I want to talk about, I'll go to Hut 8 real quick, and then I'll go to Argo. Oh, not wrong one. Go to Hut 8, and then I'll go to Argo. So Hut 8 is on the OTC markets. They're a very interesting mining company, and they're much smaller, but they're very green energy oriented. So that's why I talk about them a little bit more now. Great management team, but they've been struggling a bit since March 3rd in a straight downward trend with not too many signs of recovery here. You do have some green intraday candles, but the OTC miners have been suffering very, 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 very bad. Denny's, we will talk about in the third part of the show is when we'll go into individual Q&A about stocks. So we'll definitely do that for sure. But if you look here, Hut ran all the way up to like 13, but again, this was during the euphoric rise into February before we started falling and gave up a lot of this different stuff for sure. But I don't know. It's scary because they're right now teetering on the 200 moving average. You break this 200 moving average, things start getting ugly. Support levels come down to this area of 250, and then you come lower. So I think if Bitcoin doesn't recover, it's going to be an ugly earnings season for all of these Bitcoin miners next time around, unless they're expanding. If they're expanding, then they'll be able to make up for it with volume. But if they're not expanding, they will not be able to make up for it with volume because they'll be stagnant. So we'll have to see how that plays out for Argo. For Hut 8.
I think I want to see some strength come back into the crypto market as a large before I start seeing some of these miners as good investment opportunities.
I agree. But what to me in terms of a sign of strength is this candle to me is a sign of strength. It's not a fantastic candle by any means, but how fast we've recovered. And if we could prove that this isn't a bull trap, that means it's a very good sign that the whales of the world saw this as a fantastic buying opportunity and bought in and said, hey, we'll buy the dip, quote unquote.
I agree. And there's nothing like a price change to change sentiment, right?
Right. Because then you have people on the sidelines who were like, hey, we're going to wait for the dip. And now the dip is here. So it's like, all right, now they start buying. But if the ones that truly wanted to buy will start buying, and the ones that were just saying we're going to wait for a dip, are just never going to buy. But most of the ones that truly have the money are operating and making their moves, right? So that's Hut 8 in a nutshell for us. Now let's go to Argo blockchain. There's talks about this one uplisting. But this one's a heartbreaker, man. This one's a very good company, but this one has given up a lot of its gains, reverted back to its February levels, which is not very good. It doesn't have a 200 moving average because they haven't been live for 200 days on this chart at least. So it's quite unfortunate. This is one I stay away from because there's a lot of fees that come with it. Even if you're trading on the OTC, I think there's like a $25 fee to buy and sell every time on top of your OTC fees because of its European holdings. So we're definitely have to see how that all plays out. But Argo's not looking pretty at all, and they're much, much smaller in terms of mining. I want to see if there's any news about them recently. Yeah, they only had $9 million in revenue in April, which is good. Not that bad, but good for a smaller company. I want to see if they have any plans for expansion. So I know, dear SOS, I'm breaking up with you. Bitcoin mining play too. Yeah, I want to talk about Guac in a second. That'll be the last miner that I talk about. But let's just jump to Riot and Mara right now. So Riot and Mara are the two big ones that are publicly traded on the markets. They're ones that have had fantastic runs from last year into this year, over tens of thousands of percent, just run-ups. And we can see that Riot hit an all-time high of 79.50, which is huge run-up. And of course, as you can see here, why is it trading so much lower? We're in mud because blockchain prices have dropped. And I'm sorry, Bitcoin prices have dropped. So Riot is sitting right on the 200 moving average, which scares the hell out of me. Every time I see something sitting on the 200 moving average, it scares me. It worries me. It makes me ponder what's going on, what's next, what the heck is this company doing? Well, it's not the company. What the heck is going on? But the fact that they're closing above it is a sign of strength. They wick down below it on the 13th, and that was before, essentially in the middle of all this craziness. So it does scare me because Riot does have a much lower float than Mara. It's an 83.5 million float, which means it'll move faster. So it'll go up quicker and then it'll also come down quicker. So that's what's kind of scaring me there. RSI is essentially not that great here. In my opinion, you're still headed downward. You've been essentially down with a little bouts of recovery here and there. Nothing too crazy to write home about. I'm not too crazy about what Riot's been doing from a news standpoint. You got a curl there, but I don't see much hope. I'm not too crazy about how Riot is using their cash because they just bought a huge plot of land. Appreciate you, Ramesh. I hope I said your name correctly. Thank you for your kind comment. Yeah, means a lot. Riot just spent a lot of money on a huge plot of land. So that was a huge red flag for me in terms of Riot. I think I could pull it up. They had earnings, by the way. They did good on earnings. They had positive earnings. Sales were up, which is good. I'm very happy to see that for them. They're expanding, but I think they spent 80 million or something ridiculously wild in a plot of land in Texas where land is usually very cheap. They spent a ton of money there and they kind of blew that, and they're like burning through their cash with deals. They bought miners, but not too many miners to get them to like the next level where it's the first barrier that a lot of these miners had was 1 exahash. Like, let's get to 1 exahash and then build up to 1 exahash. Bitfarms got there, Riot got there, Mara got there. Then the next one is usually 10 exahash. That's the plans that I've been seeing from Mara. I've been seeing from Cypher Mining, from BlockCap is getting to 10 exahash and up. Riot hasn't given us that plan yet. We know that they ordered miners. I'll go to their website just for Riot blockchain, just to give just to be fair to them, to Riot blockchain. And again, this isn't a bare thesis. I still think it could be a fantastic company. I just think I want to hear more from them. I want to see what's next a little bit better. So here's their HCW Wainwright presentation. This is their CEO, newly minted CEO. This is their capacity again. At 1.6 exahash rate is their capacity. Their future capacity is 7.7, and this includes, I believe, the brand new miners that they purchased. Yeah, so this is April 27th. This was after they announced the purchase of their miners. Again, not a bad company. Still headed in a fantastic trajectory. They're by no means a small mining company at all. Let me go to their press releases. It's just I don't like how they're using their cash, like their Whitestone acquirement. Yeah, see, this does include the 7.7 does include the 42,000 that they bought. So this Whitestone facility that they purchased was very expensive. $651 million for land and employees and all that. That's a lot. And why am I comparing that to being a lot is because I'm comparing it to Mara, which has land, employees, and everything for about $1 a year and a 0.06 cent per kilowatt hour cost for the employees and $1 a year for the land. Yeah, I'm not joking. The lease is $1 a year. I don't know how they pulled that off, but they got it from Bitfury, not from Bitfury, from Beowulf. They got that from Beowulf. So it's interesting to see how Riot's playing out. I do think that the CEO is making certain moves that he shouldn't be. He's overpaying a lot, which I don't like because they're not a company that's very cash strong. They got, I believe they have 3.9 million in Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is 3.9 million or 39 million. We can check we can go to their balance sheet and check that out.
So wait, just to reiterate, you said they just spent 600 million on land in Texas?
Yes, 600 million on land in Texas for a facility. So that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Yep, it's more than I got.
Yeah, me too. We could pull up everyone at Benzinga. Maybe we'll have to leave Jason out of that one, but I think maybe then we could probably buy one of these. But they have 34 million in Bitcoin and they got 241 million in cash. Now the transaction does include that Whitestone transaction does include stock. So it's 11.8 million shares of Riot common stock, and then it also includes 80 million of cash, and it's a total implied transactional value of 651 million. So 80 million of the cash that they have on their balance sheet is going to go poof to this deal, and then we have, again, I'm not trying to build a bear thesis here. I'm just trying to I'm going to tear Mara up too. Don't worry, we'll do that as well. But then you have this other deal. So you have that 80 million cash just poof gone. And then you have another 135 million of cash poof gone in order to expand to 7.7 exahash, because these machines are quite expensive. They've gotten very, very expensive over time. And these are the S19Js, not the S19 Pros. S19J has the ability to mine at 90 terahash. S19 Pro has the ability to mine at 120 terahash. So it's much less powerful. And they're quite expensive, because I remember when Mara and Riot both purchased their miners for this year, Mara bought a much smaller volume because they didn't want to increase their float by raising money, which I think they should have. It would have that would have paid off for them much better now than back then. But these will only start arriving, I think, will start arriving in the end of this year into next year. So by next year, they'll be at a 7.7 exahash rate. So that was Riot in a nutshell. He said, Calm is asking, did he pay cash for the land? No. So it's a cash and it was both a cash deal as well as a stock deal. So it was 80 million in cash was paid, along with 11.8 million shares of Riot common stock. Now, the thing that worries me about this Riot common stock is if you go to their annual report from 2020, they'd mentioned that they might have to raise money for certain deals and expansions, which means an offering. Now, to me, that would have meant they should have done it when they hit the $80 a share price point and done it, but I don't know why they're kind of not doing it. They haven't done it. So it's weird. Maybe they just said, all right, we're not going to do it. And if we need cash for the next round of things, we'll raise funding them, but they didn't do it. And again, don't be too afraid of offerings. A lot of traders, especially retail, the second they hear offering, they start running. As long as the money is being used for something smart and is being used the proper way, there shouldn't be any issues with an offering. Let the offering play out. You got to spend money to make money. These companies don't just grow on their own, especially in this sector. You need to spend money. What does bother me a little bit is how little cash they have in crypto. That bothers me because they're such a big company. They have a higher hash rate than Mara does right now. So we'll have to see. T-Chess, we discussed SOS previous to this, so you can just scrub and rewind a little bit and you'll be able to see the SOS discussion. So let's go to Mara now. I want to discuss Mara. Oh, before I leave Riot for 1 second, let me just go back to the chart just 1 second. Riot support level would be this for anyone that's looking to probably maybe make a purchase, again, not a financial advisor. This 200 moving average is what I'm watching. If we break the 200 moving average, the next level that I'm watching is around 1740. And then if we break that, things get a little bit uglier and we go down to the $10 area. So there's a lot that's going on. I'm just going to do a quick, does it have a time interval on it somewhere? Okay. No, it doesn't. All right, that's okay. That's all right. So we'll just go to Mara now. We'll talk about Mara. That chart I know a little bit better because I trade that chart. So we can go into Mara, and if we don't have the correct indicator, let me see if I can pull up my Mara trade view chart. NASDAQ. All right, perfect. So this is Marathon Digital Holdings, the other big Bitcoin mining company in the U.S. So we were just on their website, so we're going to go back. I want to talk about some of their deals that they've had. They've got a newly minted CEO as well who was on the board, Fred Thiel. He was on Fox Business discussing how he wants to expand into greener mining. Mariko Komodo, who's now the executive chairman, former CEO and executive chairman, is now the executive chairman. Head honcho is what I call him. He has discussed, he said the reason we went with a coal mining plant in Montana was because we needed to get our miners rolled out. They purchased their miners from Bitmain, and they were like, hey, we need to get these miners rolled out. We need to put them in a facility. We can't put them somewhere to collect dust. And these all green mining facilities didn't exist. They weren't out there. There's one or two out there now that are being built and are built. And I'll discuss that when I go into Guac, which is the newer one, the newer Bitcoin mining company that's coming up. But this is what they've been doing. We can go to their balance sheet and see how much Bitcoin they have. They do have 150 million of Bitcoin that they bought about at 30,000 a share, 31,000 a share. They bought that earlier this year, and that's gone up to 281 million. So this investment fund is the NIDAC investment fund, which also pays them interest. And this is how much they have in Bitcoin in that fund, and this is how much they have in Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So what they're usually doing is they're pushing a lot of their Bitcoin into the investment fund as well in order to be able to get paid interest on that investment. So that's why you're probably like, all right, why do they have less? Plus, they had much less mining hash rate than RIOT did during these time intervals that they've reported earnings. From January 1st to March 31st of this year, RIOT was over the 1 exahash rate. Mara has crossed the 1 exahash rate now. They're at 1.46 exahash rate as of May 7th. But that doesn't reflect, obviously, on this balance sheet because you have a growing hash rate, but it's very hard to predict where the calculation would fall because we at the beginning of every month, they give us an update on their hash rate. So it's hard to be like, all right, this is how much we mined. But once they give us those updates, we get a better idea of how they're moving. One of their press releases, that's one of my favorite press releases from them, is when they kind of told us that they gave us their rollout of Bitcoin mining, their plan for Bitcoin mining, and their operations was on April 5th, which is ironically was my birthday, which was their highest growing day. So you can see they have a plan to roll out their miners, and the miners have been coming to them much faster at a much higher interval. So we'll have to see how that all plays out for them, but it's been doing well. So just looking at their chart, because I know we're running out of time. We only have 15 minutes left. And I want to talk about Guac with you folks as well. Mara, I was fully expecting to come down and touch this 1572 support level. I'll be honest with you, I was worried. I was expecting us to come and touch this, but we didn't. It held stronger. Now you might be saying, what happened? How come we didn't rip through the level? Why didn't we rip through the level? The chart is still ugly. We're still trading sideways for 5 days now. RSI is flat. MACD wants to curl, but there's not enough input for us to curl. So it worries me about this. So yeah, Judge is saying he's got a $15 limit order on RIOT and Mara. Which do you think gets filled first? Well, let's discuss Mara, and then you tell me which one you think would get filled first. So we had a lot of money, institutional flow into RIOT as well as Mara, a lot into Mara. BlackRock made a massive investment into Mara. JP Morgan Chase made a massive investment that they've disclosed. Citibank has made a massive investment. A lot of Canadian banks have made massive investments. So to me, the key support levels that I'm watching on Mara are 1832, 1572, and 962. But also you have one new sort of support level that surprised me today, which was around $19.30. We'll just say $19. I was fully expecting when I saw Bitcoin had forked down that hard. We were in pre-market, so it was during the 4 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. time window. I was fully expecting Mara to be in the dust. I was expecting to wake up to see $15 or maybe under $15. But if we go to something like the 5-minute chart and take a look at the extended hours, we did have a gap down. Granted, we did, but the lowest point that we touched was 1856, which isn't too bad, and it's in pre-market trading, and a lot of volume came in to kind of get us over the hump. And in after hours right now, we're kind of calming down a little bit and having a little bit of sell-off into the after hours of where it is. And usually around 6 p.m. is when we'll see a little movement upward or back to moving flat on Mara. So I'm not too worried about the future of this company as I am worried about RIOT. RIOT will be going to 7.7. Mara is set to go to 10.37. They're in a pool mining agreement with another Bitcoin miner, DMG, which is ticker DMGGF, which is set to have its own maximum hash rate of, I believe, 4 exahash. So that's happening as well. We got a question coming in. It says, I have a question. In China, just about everyone uses a digital wallet to pay for just about anything. Why would they Bitcoin? Oh, why would they use Bitcoin when it is against the Communist Party? Can you explain? That's a more of a political question. I don't know why they would use Bitcoin or not use Bitcoin, but I don't think Bitcoin was cool to think of as using as a financial currency or instrument like that, but it's not efficient enough to be a currency because the block verification time is about 10 minutes. So imagine you go to Sears or Macy's or Walmart and you buy something. You have to wait there for 10 minutes. It's kind of like when you swipe your card and it goes processing or transaction approved. That would take 10 minutes. Like Doge is 1 minute. So I don't think it was ever meant to be fast enough to do these form of transactions, but more rather it's meant to be a store of wealth because it's a supply-demand equation. T-Chess says, I'm hoping that they made some good profits, but I've reduced my SOS exposure. Okay, I think there was a first half of that I might have missed, but that's okay. Viper says, any chance of Mar will hit $40 before this Friday? I have 4 calls expiring. Viper, that's Viper, take a look at the distance we would have to fill from here to 40. It's a lot,
I don't think that's happening.
Yeah,
I mean, Bitcoin. I mean, it does. I'm looking at a live chart of Ethereum right now, and it looks like Ethereum is legging up. I don't know if Bitcoin's doing the same thing. I know they mostly move together.
Let's go to Ethereum. Okay, let me go to something like the 5-minute chart. It is getting its sea legs back up, which is good, and sort of establishing newer support levels to kind of protect it. 2,300 is holding handsomely. 2,500 is trying to build its way up, but it's going to take a little bit for it to hold. But yeah, Viper, it's going to be a little bit harder. Mitch, my man, how you doing? I'll take 1 or 2 questions from the chat in terms of tickers if you want me to take a look at.
We got Money Mitch coming on.
Yeah, then we got Money Mitch. I'm scrolling up. If anyone's got any tickers they want us to talk about, we could do that.
Yeah, Richard Judge weighing in he said, LOL, that's not happening.
Yeah.
LOL.
Yeah.
Trust me.
You got to be careful.
Viper, I'm with you. You have no clue how many calls I've had just expire worthless, and puts for that matter. Yeah,
that's why I try not to just play options with these specific stocks, is because they've got 2 entities that can go against it. Like, for example, they have Bitcoin. Thank you, DK. They have Bitcoin that can go against it, and they also have the market that can go against it. So there's 2 things which can hurt it. So Noah's asking for NVDA, which I imagine is NVDA, which I do like NVIDIA long-term a lot. They're struggling because of all this stuff, and they're dancing on the 200 moving average as well. But I have to say that I do think NVIDIA might break this 200 moving average, and we might test levels around the 490, 500, 490 area, just because tech is going to have its little sell-off here and there more, and then we'll have a rocket up. We might see a clean quote-unquote double bottom, sort of a double, not a technical double bottom, but I think we might come down to this 346, but more realistically around the 490, 500 area.
Yeah, we've talked about it before, how growth is kind of the first thing to get hit, but it's also the first thing to kind of rip back up.
Yeah, because they want to make their money back too. I think I saw a chart of there's like so much money sitting on the sidelines. Tesla, same thing. You folks probably know that I'm a massive Tesla bull, but if you look here, we've essentially come back down to our lows for March. This one has come down essentially to the lows of March, just off by a few ticks, but ripped through the 200 moving average. But again, this could be a lot of Bitcoin whales shorting Tesla because they're angry at Elon for what he did. But that's the price you pay. It's like there was a meme I retweeted it on my Twitter. It was like, and Elon said, like, and for this magic trick, I'm going to make my balance sheet disappear. Let me see if I can pull it up. Give me 1 second. End the show on a laugh. We've had a lot of
Well, yeah, and also I'm gonna have to hop off for 1 second. I just realized I got to grab my laptop charger, otherwise my thing's gonna die.
No problem. We got 7 more minutes. So if you look at this, it says he says for my next trick, I'm going to destroy my own balance sheet. So yeah, because he not only did he hurt Bitcoin, which is on his balance sheet, but he also hurt Tesla stock price with a 1-2 fell swoop, and it kind of hurt it. And If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Ryan Rozbiani. Should be linked in the description. If not, just go to ryanstocks.com. No, you're correct, Opie. Elon didn't sell a Bitcoin. You're correct. He didn't sell any Bitcoin. He quoted out Diamond Hands. So I guess he did all that fiasco just to piss us all off and make us all feel bad. Mike Jones, you did not miss Guac. Mike, I won't have enough time to talk about Guac, but if you want to learn about Guac, just go to yt.ryanstocks.com. If I could spell correctly, yt.ryanstocks.com, which is .com. And then if you're going to get a little subscribe message, which I'd appreciate if you hit subscribe. It'd mean a lot to me. We got bounced back to Benzinga Pro. It'll mean a lot to me if you hit the subscribe button. Just go to videos, and if you scroll down, you can see it. It's right here, Guac. I did a full video talking about Guac, a deep dive for 10 minutes discussing it, and I do have a brand new deep dive coming out about Guac where I'll just go and dive deep into it and discuss all the new stuff. They're doing it essentially a fully green Bitcoin mining operation that's coming out of Ohio and Texas, which is going to be fantastic in my opinion. So I'm just starting to load the boat. I closed Benzinga Pro, but I could show you Guac's chart. It's a SPAC, so if you can get it under 10, it's good. But I think that the unfortunate thing that I'm a little bit worried about with Guac is that after it's, I'll go to Heikinashi candle so we can see a little bit what's going on. What I'm worried about Guac is that after the merger, it might have a sell-off. So that's when I'm waiting to get my lion's share of my position and build my full position. As you can see, Guac has had a bit of a hard time, along with all the other SPACs. So that's why I think so too. Because says BTC sold. Yeah, we had a big sell-off in BTC, about a 38% sell-off. Krishna is saying, will we see a lower low with BTC? Sorry, I just got in. We might, Krishna, we might see a lower low. I got 5 minutes. I'll pull it up for you. Just do me a favor, hit the like button, and that'll be cool if you did that. I think we'll come to 20. We'll come to 30,000 again, and then we'll come and test 28,000 again. That's the levels that I'm watching very closely for Bitcoin, because I think that what we're seeing here is a bit of a bull trap, which worries me. Because there's not too many signs of relief. There's not too many bullish signs that I can see here. Every time we go up, we start to come back down again, and we kind of level it out. We're legging up a little bit, but if you look here on the 30-minute chart, it's just been stagnant going down. And the 30-minute chart isn't really fair because a lot of this chaos, the low point was hit around 1 p.m. So if we just kind of, let me take you to something like the 5-minute chart to give you a better idea of how kind of we're dancing around this level, and we could easily lose that level very, very, very quickly. What will Guac be post-merger? CFIR, I believe. Cipher. CIFR. I tweeted it. Hold on. Guac. This is what I do. Sometimes I use my own tweets to kind of answer questions because it's easier. Because you type it out. There's so many stocks and so many things I discuss here. Yeah, it's going to CIFR. So CIFR. I'll retweet it in case anyone wants to go and watch this video. It's a huge deep dive on them. Proof cryptos are related to squeezes. I don't have any proof to prove that. I'm sorry. OP says, cool show. Nice to get prepared for night trading crypto. Good luck, man. Thank you for watching. Good luck, man, woman. I'm not sure. I can't tell. So, yeah, we can. Yeah, Elon didn't sell any BTC. TLT clapped. I'm not sure what that means. Gamble is an interesting stock as well. I don't have enough time to dive deep into Gamble. I'm sorry. We'll do this again on another episode. He probably hedged. Who hedged? Elon? I don't know about that. The link above the proof comment. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. Proof cryptos related. Oh, you sent the link. Okay, links don't come into this chat. Just a heads up, YouTube filters out links, so we won't be able to see. We won't get your links. Pocket change. It's pocket change for Elon, but it's not pocket change for Tesla. It's still a decent amount of money. You're welcome, Kazmods. Yeah, you're welcome, Nick. So, folks, yeah, thank you so much for watching the show. I really appreciate it. This is After Hours with me, Ryan Rozbiani. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, I'd appreciate it. We can continue the conversation there until I see you folks next week. I'm at Ryan Rozbiani, but all my links to the YouTube and everything, you just go to Ryan Stocks, ryanstocks.com. I'll take you there before we close the show because we got Money Mitch coming on. But if you go to ryanstocks.com, I have this little flow code page where everything is here. You can sign up for Benzinga Pro. You can come to my Patreon and sign up there. YouTube, Instagram, whatever you'd like. You can do all that stuff is here. Mitch is saying you got 2 to 3 minutes, Ryan. Yep. Thank you, Mitch. Yeah, folks, Money Mitch is coming up next. You'll probably get like a little banner or something that'll pop up, and you'll be able to see that there, and you'll be able to kind of join the party in the Money Mitch show. And sometimes I'm on there with him on Fridays, and we have a lot of fun. And a lot of the stuff that we talked about on Bitcoin and Disney and all this other stuff happened. So if you're watching that show, you probably saw a lot of this stuff. Coupon Boy says, any advice for us who can't trade on Binance because of state restrictions? I'm in the same boat as you. I'm in New York, so I can't trade on Binance either. I'd say use Coinbase or Gemini, I feel like, but that's not financial advice. That's just friendly advice.
Golf tournament.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Golf tournament?
My buddy was leaving me a voice message. Are you wrapped up, ready for Money Mitch?
Yes, sir. We're all wrapped up, ready for Money Mitch. I'm gonna probably jump in and watch with you folks. I finished a lot of the work that I had to do, so I'm free. I'll be watching along. All right, folks. Good night, and say hi to Mitch for me in the comments. And on your way out, do me a solid, hit the like button.
Shout out Zinger Nation.